kind of tying all this together. So we've talked about the OJT and we've talked about the various e-learning and in-person and virtual and blended formats. What are some of the ways to kind of capture and leverage all of those together to make a comprehensive workforce development program? Thomas.
Well, I think if you kind of sum it up in describing it, you've got the multiple avenues and understand their strengths and weaknesses and how they play to one another. First, what is your ultimate goal? What are the obstacles that your organization and your culture faces in meeting that goal? And then going into your resources and adapting. Again, in our world right now, doing the initial greetings to the organization, doing the e-learning modules and planting the seeds, then getting them out into the field and getting some on-the-job trainings and some observations and so forth. And then bringing them into the classroom and for the hands-on to really now start to refine and mold that, but always keep those virtual training experiences as I always look at them on the back end as your insurance company. Protect that investment in the trainings that you're doing. Always give them that ability to go back, replay, rewatch. Sadly, I learned this from my children because, anybody that has children and, lived the life of Disney movies, how many times have you watched The Lion King until, you have every single word of every single scene memorized? Repetition, builds in. So, again, there's many tools and many approaches that we can do to. I've worked for some of my clients, because we also do training services for clients, and they'll do the blended routine where, again, they'll assign the e-learning courses kind of on the front end. Great equalizer, bring the classroom stability is a good way to get new topics out there. And then they'll bring them, for instance, into a classroom, but now what they'll do is, what might have been a 5 days in the classroom because you had lecture and lab, now they're kind of using the e-tools as the lecture contributor, followed by the little one-on-one sessions with the instructor. So by now, what might have been a 5 days in the lab is now a 3 days or 2.5 days in the lab, but we can really now just concentrate all on the hands-on aspect. So I think you nailed it. You've got the e-learning, the in-person, the virtual classrooms, the blended. Those are your tools and your resources. Now you have to kind of adapt them to your organizations, your culture, your production schedules. And again, there's no perfect answer. What may work in, a smaller company like mine may not work on, literally we've got 15 different regions, spread across X and 2,000 employees, and we've got layers of politics and management. But again, the tools are the tools.
Right.
So how we work them within the larger versus the medium versus the small, there's no perfect answer. It's kind of a little touchy-feely and adapting, but it's the key message is there's not a singular solution.
Agreed.
There's not. It's got to be in-person classroom or you can't do training. It can't be everything is virtual world and so forth. Even with some of those virtual realities, how many times have I gone to now trade shows and some software vendor has the virtual racking the breaker? You know what? That is really totally cool. And the graphics are getting better and better and better every time I play the game. But am I going to trust somebody to rack a breaker on a live bus by doing this? They have no tactical feeling. They can't feel, the tension and Now, what is cool is, that one of the vendors actually programmed in some, okay, if you didn't go through your checklist and there was a mistake made, you get a big flash in your eye set and everything because you just triggered an arc flash. So there is some cool things that they can do. But again, that's not a singular answer. You don't go ahead and say, okay, now go rack lie breakers because you took the virtual rack test. You know,